Welcome back, True Seeker. Yesterday, Thursday, March 24th, Consumer Reports put out an article on dangerous chemicals found in food wrappers at major fast food restaurants and grocery chains. And again, reports like this come out, fairly often. Harmful chemicals found in common products that so many people use. You might recall at the beginning of the pandemic, they were telling everybody to Clorox everything and to use lots of hand sanitizer. And it was funny because I told people right away, that's definitely not the thing to do. I said, you guys don't live in fear. They're trying to scare you. If you're putting Clorox over everything in your house and you're using lots of hand sanitizer, you're certainly doing something that's bad for you. Clorox is full of so many carcinogens. It's one of the most toxic household cleaners there is. I would say surely almost anything you clean with Clorox, whatever it is that you cleaned, was probably a lot less worse for you than the Clorox is. Sure, the Clorox will kill things, but it also creates a carcinogenic laced area, everything it touches, which, you don't want that to be the surface you're coming in contact, the air you're breathing. Clorox is a toxic product. It would be illegal if the federal government actually cared about your health. It wouldn't be allowed to be sold in any store because it's horrible for you. And for all of you guys who don't think that's true because you believe so much in authority, you know what? Keep using the Clorox and enjoy your early death. And understand, you guys, that's the thing about this world. A lot of the products that Big Brother told us that are safe, they know they're not safe. They're money makers, and they're here as part of the planned population control strategy that's been in effect for several decades. And stories like this are a reminder of the truth, but they know that even the average American's not going to care about this. The average American's like my uncle who once told me, Zach, don't worry about what they say will kill you because almost everything in this world will kill you and just enjoy life, And sadly, he was the first uncle I had that died. He was a good guy, but he didn't take care of himself. And again, the point about going back to what I told you guys about Clorox and hand sanitizer, you might recall even CNN a couple months after the pandemic started, they did a big report on how hand sanitizer kills people's good hand bacteria and actually might be more harmful than good. And then they even did a story on Clorox and the carcinogens in it. We covered that at the time, and I said, see, you guys, just like I told you, they're telling everybody to go out and use hand sanitizer at the beginning, then they're going to mock people a couple months later and show them how these products could actually do more harm than good. And that's the world we live in. How many of you have a Teflon pot or pan in your house? And I got to be honest, even our rice cooker is Teflon. It's the only Teflon thing we use, and really we shouldn't use it, but Sweet Lady can't stand when the rice sticks, and she knows how bad Teflon is, but it's the one place we make an exception. And really, we shouldn't. We should get rid of that Teflon rice cooker. But Teflon is something that our government has known about for a long time that is highly toxic to us and also the environments where the product's developed. All sorts of rivers and community farms have been destroyed because of the production of Teflon. There's documentaries out there on it. But Teflon's a known killer, yet it remains legal because it's one of the most consumed chemicals in the world because people like the no-stick quality that it brings. It makes it so much easier to cook. Your food's not all stuck. You're not peeling everything off the pan. And but again, it's a dangerous product. So many people have lost their pet birds when they cooked with Teflon the first time. They say the first time you, and if you do use Teflon and you're going to continue to use it, maybe that first time you just heat it up and cook with it, they say that there's a major chemical release that first time a Teflon product's used. That's when people's birds die. Our bird died when I was young. From my mom brought home a new Teflon pat. The bird's cage was in the kitchen. The bird keeled over and just died, and we didn't know what happened at first, but then we read about Teflon and how it did that, and we said, no wonder. We just killed our bird with a brand new Teflon pot. And, it was very sad at the time. I mean, it was a healthy bird. It would have lived a lot longer, but it got poisoned with the Teflon. It's that canary in the coal mine thing. They used to bring canaries in the coal mine because the deadly gases, before they kill the humans, the first sign is if the canary drops dead, then the people better get out of there. And again, Teflon's not going to make you drop dead, but it's taking away years from your life, and it's putting a toxin in your body that's carcinogenic, that'll likely cause cancer and illness down the road. And the thing is, these kind of products are everywhere. Teflon's not just on pots and pans. If you buy the tin foil that says non-stick tin foil, it's got Teflon on it. That's what the non-stick is. And again, convenience can have consequences. It's better to just get a cast iron, a stainless steel pot and pan, use a high quality oil and cook on a lower heat and take longer to cook so that it doesn't stick to the surface. I mean, usually that's the way around. If you've ever cooked on a Teflon pot, it's easy. Flip it over. It's not sticking at all. It's cooked. It tastes good. It was easy. You cook it on a stainless steel pan. Man, the temperature's too hot. The whole thing might be stuck to there. You're scraping it off. You got all these dishes to clean. It can be a headache. But you got to learn how to work with those things. Cook on a lower temperature. Use a high-quality oil. There's plenty of oils you can cook with that are horrible for you, too, like vegetable oil. It might sound good because it's vegetable oil, but it's toxic. Again, if you have a secondhand grocery store, like a grocery outlet that buys bulk from the bigger stores that got too much and sells it at a cheaper price, that's the place you can get more expensive oils like avocado oils. Those are good oils to cook with. They're healthy for you. They're expensive in the store, but if you can get it at a place like grocery outlet, it's a lot more affordable. But the world of chemicals around us. So often there'll be a major chemical product that sells in the marketplace for 50 years, and then the FDA or something comes in and says, whoa, that product is so toxic, we got to get that out of here, and here we're going to bring in the new replacement product. Like there is a new replacement Teflon, and it's pretty much the same thing. So it's like, okay, so you're going to create a new chemical compound that has pretty much the exact same structure as Teflon and say, see, it's not Teflon, use this instead. Just wait until, 10, 20 years from now, they're saying, oh, turns out this is even worse for you than Teflon. And it'll be like, well, duh. It was pretty much the same thing. But that's the way the gimmicks work in this society. Again, they want people putting these poisons and these toxins in their body, and it's not some big surprise like how supposedly Consumer Reports just figured it out yesterday that all these places are using this toxic wrapping. Essentially, a rule of thumb in this world is if it's a chemical product, FDA approved or not, just think about it. It's probably not good for you. It's not naturally occurring. It wasn't ever meant to be in your body. Again, the reality most people need to have of the world is like, the world is a pretty amazing place. The natural stuff in here, the foods, the renewable resources that come back every year to nourish the body, the medicines that can be derived from natural plants. It really does seem like, even if you're an atheist and you think it's the Big Bang, it seems like this miraculous creation that we live in. All the things were put here in this environment that were here for us to eat, to clean ourselves with, to take care of ourselves. They were all here. But then man came along and man got clever and greedy and figured out how to manipulate things and make things more profitable and things even easier and even tastier. But all of these chemical manipulations are essentially bad for the body. And the frustrating thing about this world is, so many people believe in their government, but they don't realize their government is owned by these greedy corporations that essentially make the laws and the rules and pass the science that, and again, it's not that science is a bad thing. It's that science is corrupted. It's controlled by evil people with greedy purposes that falsify reports and studies to say that the science justifies what they're doing when really there's no justice in it at all, but nothing but greed and manipulation. And again, this is why I say to people, the reason that, despite all these scientific and medical advancements in our lifetimes, more and more people are dying earlier and younger from all these preventable disease and illness, it's clearly because of the toxification of our environment due to all these new chemicals. And the thing that's so frustrating is you can't point it out, you can't talk about it, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're censored online, big tech platforms take you down for putting out information that goes against what the FDA is saying. It's like, come on, 20 years ago, before Google was even a thing, the book was put out by Marion Nestle about how corrupt the FDA was, and she used to work for it. But, again, this is why I say our ancestors, they didn't have packaged food. The food came from the backyard, from the garden, from the farm, from the community farmer. Maybe if that person themselves in the town wasn't a farmer, they were going right down to their market and trading directly with the farmer their skill, their labor, their craft for the food. And it probably wasn't coming in a Monsanto made plastic wrap so that, no oil would get on your fingers. It wasn't like that. Probably in a wooden crate cut down from a tree not far away. And but again, just as they give us these stories, just realize it's not like it's some new breakthrough, some discovery. Almost all this stuff has been known. Almost all of it's been covered up. And when a Consumer Reports goes out and releases the report way after the fact, it's just a way to kind of, I think it's the way that this cabal of, and again, Consumer Reports is part of the same cabal that essentially owns your government. I'll even show you how many studies they did and the day they put this out on. Again, that's where knowing the gematria, you see the extra mockery. But again, you guys, chemicals, it's best to just avoid them. There's not really any chemical you need to clean your house with. There's actually nature's cleaning ingredient. It doesn't smell the best. It's why people don't like to use it, but vinegar. If you mix vinegar with water, you can clean almost anything. Vinegar, great at sanitizing. No, you know what? Vinegar has health benefit properties. So you're not putting something carcinogenic in your environment that, when the media went out and told you to Clorox everything, they should have told you to go out and clean it with vinegar, vinegar. Water and vinegar, the classic cleaner that's not dangerous, that's inexpensive. I mean, that's the other thing, too. It's very inexpensive. You go out and get a big bottle of, if anything's dangerous about that big bottle of cleaning vinegar, it's the bottle it's in and maybe some of the chemicals that's saturated from the plastic. But still, that's going to be better than the deadly cleaning product that's also in the plastic bottle. But again, you mix vinegar with water. That's how you clean. And if you don't like the smell of vinegar, you'll get used to it in due time, and then before long, you'll realize, you know what, it doesn't smell so bad, and now I know I have a nice sanitary area. But yeah, the packaging, you guys. Packaging is another thing. Not only are there all these harmful chemical and additives to the food to make it more tasty, more addictive, last longer on the shelf, all of these things being bad for your body, but good for corporate, profits. Again, it's profit over people in all regards, but it's not just what's put in the food, it's the packaging. There's a lot of research that thinks that the rising rates of Alzheimer's is just because people are eating more and more, processed and canned foods and things made on assembly lines where there's little small metal pieces and shavings, and people just getting more and more metals in their diet that, there's all sorts of studies out there. Over a lifetime, eating all these products, the little medical particles start to build up and they get stuck in your brain. And it could be Alzheimer's and dementia. A lot of this could be that our brain, it's not able to function and connect like it used to. And now, there's lapses and it's just not functioning because all the, I'm missing the vocabulary, but the connections that should be there are essentially clotted from all this metal building up in the brain over a lifetime of eating all of these products. And again, this wasn't happening at this rate to our ancestors because they were just taking their food right from the garden. There was no packaging. There weren't all these crazy new chemicals and pests. There probably were some pesticides because pesticides have been around for a while, but it's better to not use that stuff. Some places, they live in areas and the insects are crazy and it's hard to grow any food without the pesticides. But it's best to minimize this stuff. And here's the other thing too. A lot of people don't buy things like this at the grocery store because they can cost $10 for a little bottle and people don't want to spend that extra $10. But realize that this type of product to clean your vegetables and your produce, it's highly concentrated, so even though it costs $10 for the bottle, it lasts a really long time. On the directions, it says do 1 or 2 small drops. There's 1,000 loads of washing your vegetables in here if you follow the directions. If you're dumping in the bottle and putting in way more than you need to, it's going to go way faster. But if you do it as directed, this $10 bottle, which seems kind of expensive, it goes a long ways. And do make sure if you buy stuff like this to clean your fruits and vegetables, you read the ingredients, because some of the products, You start to look at the ingredients and you're like, wait a minute, what is that? I can't even pronounce what that is. I'm not sure I want to put that on my food. But like this one says main ingredient is purified water. Of course, water is a cleaning agent. And then it says natural cleansing agents derived from plant oils. Honestly, I've seen a cleaning thing. This seemed to be the best one they had at the store when I went there the last time. That's why I have it right now. But I'd rather that ingredient be even more clear. Natural cleansing agents derived from plant oils. It's not the worst. But I like it when it's just more clear and even more specific. Then it says grapefruit seed extract and lemon orange extract. And again, citrus has cleaning properties. But it is better to spend that $10. And again, like it says in the directions, put your fruits and vegetables in a big bowl of water, drop in a few drops, stir it around, get it sudsy, and then rinse it off thoroughly. And then that's good at pulling away, the leftover chemical residue. We live in a world saturated with chemicals, and a lot of them are not good for us. And it's why so many of us die young. And it's why so many of us, the reason so many of us don't get it is because, we're trusting in the authorities that don't really care about us, that are here to control us and exploit us from death to birth. And they're telling us all along the way that these products are safe. That's why they've been approved by your government, because they're safe. And then meanwhile, it turns out that your government knows they're not safe, and sometimes it's taking decades for them to admit that, and that's too late, A lot of lives have been lost, a lot of rivers have been destroyed. And again, it happened because rich people bought off the politicians and they essentially run the government, something that I think most people I think most will get that part, but then somehow they fall into the trap of like, well, still, they must be giving us some truth. It's like, no, you might as well just throw all that out too, because it doesn't look like there's much truth coming from government. And in this case, it's not the government breaking it through, it's Consumer Reports. But here, let me read this story. Alarming levels of dangerous chemicals. But by the way, my favorite author, Kurt Vonnegut, he worked for General Electric in the chemical business, and this is what he always wrote about too, how chemicals are essentially, destroying this world and setting people apart. And he'd always write that the difference between one guy and the next is probably the chemicals in their body. And, I'm pretty sure that they dumbed down society with all the chemicals we get at a young age. But anyway, alarming levels of dangerous chemicals known as PFAS were discovered in food packaging at a number of well-known fast food and fast casual restaurants and grocery store chains, a new report found. The highest levels of indicators of PFAS were found in food packaging from Nathan's Famous, Cava, Arby's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, Stop and Shop, and Sweet Green. And something tells me there's some other big chains that probably would have made the list, but maybe they gave a little, little pocket money to keep their name out of the top, like the McDonald's of the world, one of the most toxic food companies there ever was. Notice Burger King's been getting shamed in Russia, too. McDonald's is out of Russia, but Burger King's not. Remember, McDonald's is total New World Order. Maybe Burger King isn't. Hard to say. According to an investigation released Thursday by Consumer Reports. So that was Thursday, March 24th. As we know, that's the 83rd day of the year, the murder number, the number that they do so many death rituals with. So they're revealing on the 83rd day of the year these chemicals that are terrible for you. That are in all these products that so many people have been getting a lot of. And just wait until we see how many products they tested. Often called forever chemicals because they do not break down in the environment, and that should be a sign right there that they're forever fucked up. I mean, things are supposed to break down. PFAS are used in food packaging to prevent grease and water from soaking through food wrappers and beverage cups. PFAS can also be found in the ink used to print logos and instructions on food containers. The new report comes more than 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic when the public has relied heavily on takeout and grocery deliveries. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention calls exposure to PFAS a public health concern, citing studies that found the human-made chemicals can harm the immune system and reduce a person's resistance to infectious diseases. So it beats down your immune system, and essentially that's why people die prematurely, because their immune system takes a pounding over history. It doesn't work as it's supposed to. We live in a world where there's all sorts of competing living life forms, bacteria, some people think viruses, technically viruses are non-living, but anyway, the point is infection. There's a lot of things that can infect a human body, and if you have a good, strong immune system, you live long because your body continues to defeat it. You essentially die from disease and illness when the disease and illness becomes too great for your body to handle. So if these chemicals are weakening people's immune systems systematically, that means that it's also systematically shortening your life. It's pretty much what keeps you alive. The ability for the body to renew and fight disease and illness. There is evidence from human and animal studies that PFAS exposure may reduce antibody responses to vaccines. I love how they got that in there. Stated the CDC and the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. More research is needed to understand how PFAS exposure may affect illness from COVID-19. Dear Big Brother, can you explain to me why the military did Operation Warp Speed on the day to celebrate mercury when we know mercury is the most harmful ingredient in vaccines? Seems like a little bit of a mockery. How about the fact that you guys simulated also on Mercury Day, May 15th, 2018, 666 days before the pandemic declared, the exact pandemic that we lived out? Can I get some answers on this, please? Why isn't Consumer Reports investigating that? You know what I mean? And we all know why. But here's the big crack up if you know Gematria. More than 100 food products tested. The Consumer Reports investigation collected 118 food packaging products. Again, in Gematria, that's the number of death and homicide, 118. Number we talk about all the time around here. Just had to be 118 products, to tell us about the deadly chemicals. And this is how you can see these big corporations, these big magazines, they're all part of the cabal. They all speak the same language. They all report the same numbers in the same meaningful way. Two of the numbers we talk about more than any other when it comes to death are 83 and 118 on the 83rd day of the year this report's released. And again, it goes back to what's written on those Georgia Guidestones, put there on that famous Skull and Bones Day, that powerful secret society that speaks the code, speaks in numbers. About the need to maintain the Earth's population at a drastically lower rate. The Consumer Reports investigation collected 118 food packaging products sold by 24 companies in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Oh, that's where Skull and Bones is. It tested those products for organic fluorine, a marker for PFAS. Researchers then sent samples of products with the highest levels to an independent laboratory that could perform more specific tests, said Michael Hansen, senior staff scientist for advocacy at Consumer Reports. So, anyway, just understand, your government is not looking out for you. Greed has taken the day. They do have real plans to reduce population and keep people from living longer. I mean, you have to think about it. They also set up a Ponzi scheme, Social Security. They have a vested interest in making sure people don't live that long. I mean, if older people were living long, the whole Ponzi scheme would surely fall apart. And again, also just looking at this food, I mean, this is the way Americans eat, right? A big buttery bread bun, a piece of fried meat, a piece of cheese, and you see a little lettuce on there, a tiny bit of green. And you know what? The average American probably says, hold the pickles and lettuce, please. And so all they have on there is mayonnaise, cheese, a big bun, and a slab of meat. And again, there's definitely better ways to eat meat than fried. Grilled, baked, a lot healthier. Not the way most people are eating because it's not as tasty. Most people are thinking their priority when it comes to eating is what tastes the best. And I just want you to think about that from a society of people who spent 13 years in slave school. This is the way they go on operating as adults. They make decisions based on essentially the superficial. I mean, it's not an adult decision to eat what tastes the best. An adult decision is saying, what's best for me? What makes me healthy? What makes me less likely to die prematurely? What makes me, have a stronger immune system, more energy, more able to go throughout I mean, you look at Americans, you wonder why they're all addicted to coffee. They eat these foods that are not good for energy or health. They're low on energy, so now they're having to take a drug stimulant, the caffeine, to make up for it. And again, it's just one big toxic cycle. That said, if you're drinking coffee and you're just drinking black coffee, which almost no one does, they put all the toxic stuff in there, the creams and the sugars and the flavorings, the things that are bad for you. But if you're just drinking black coffee, that's actually good for you. Black coffee plain, just like black tea or tea plain without additives, is good for you. They all have antioxidants. They all fight disease and illness. But is this why most people are getting their morning coffee to fight disease and illness? No, they're getting it because they're tired, they're exhausted, and they're filling it up with all sorts of stuff that makes it bad. And don't think because it has antioxidant, that makes it okay to dump sugar and cream into it, because you're like, well, at least I'm getting some good with the bad. No, you're pretty much not getting any good anymore. You pretty much just made it bad. Because here's the way it is. It's like if there's a scale. You're eating something, it's on the good side. Okay? And then there's like a medium point where it like breaks even, and then over here it's bad. You were on the good side with the coffee, but because you put in all that cream and sugar, it moved it to the bad side, okay? It could have been even worse, but you moved it to a bad thing. It's now something that's bad in your body. You lost the good qualities. You know, the good qualities now having next to no impact because you made it more toxic. A lot more toxic than it was beneficial. And again, in slave school, if they cared about us, they would have taught us real nutrition, not slap the food pyramid up on the wall and told us that, you know, we should eat so much of this group and so much of this group. And I mean, go back, I know they've changed the food pyramid since I was in school, but I mean, when you used to look at that picture up at the top, it was mostly like meat and bread and cheese. And that's exactly what most people are eating, meat, bread, and cheese. My sister literally grew up on meat, bread, and cheese. I mean, that's all she ate, and she got breast cancer at a young age. And I told her when, you know, I was reading about my books in my late teen years about health, how she really needed to start to get some of these fruits and vegetables in her diet, especially green vegetables, because it offset all the toxins from the things we're used to eating. And, you know, she eats better now that she had breast cancer and, you know, had to have her breast removed. I mean, tragic thing to go through. And then what's fucked up is her husband left her right after that. I mean, I feel bad for my sister in a way, but in a way, she's digging her own grave. She's been ignorant her whole life and hated the truth, and now, you know, I guess the chickens are coming home to roost. But this thing right here that most people eat, this is not good for you. That bread is not good for you. That bread is all full of sugar. Carbohydrates, when they break down in your body, they become sugar. And sugars are what make most people fat. And, you know, you get an energy spike, but then you get a major energy drain, and that's why so many people are exhausted all the time, because they're eating this high sugar diet. There's already a ton of sugar in the food, plus there's a ton of carbs, which is just more sugar. So they get these peaks and then they just crash, and that's why so many people after lunch feel like shit. I mean, if you're someone who eats a lunch each day and then feels like you have that lunch window where you feel foggy and you don't feel like working and you're not as productive, I mean, does it ever dawn on you like, man, maybe I need to start making something different for lunch? That's what blows my mind about Americans. Like, it's like they see the problem, but then they just keep doing the same thing over and over. It's like you haven't figured out that means to eat something different. You guys, if you're overweight and you want to lose weight, get all the carbs out of your diet. Cut all the carbs out. Well, almost all. I mean, it might be hard to cut them all out, but you will be mind-blown at how fast your body loses weight, even if you don't exercise. If you stop eating carbs, so let's say you can't get over the fried piece of chicken. Okay, you know what? Eat the fried piece of chicken. Try not to eat the French fries. That's all carbs. Can you eat a fried piece of chicken and a slab of cheese on it and a salad on the side? Could you do that instead? I mean, if you could do that instead, you would lose a lot of weight. If you don't eat that big buttery piece of bread around it, if you just take that part out of your diet, but you still get your fried piece of meat and cheese and can put a salad there on the side, you will lose so much weight. And that also means you can't drink your soda either. So if your lunch is that sandwich right there with the soda and fries, the reason you're fat is because of those two pieces of bread, that soda, and those fries. All those things will make you fat. Can you eat these things on occasion? This should be something, if you love that and that's what makes life meaningful for you, eating that sandwich with the soda and fries. I mean, really, I'd try to figure out a way to get over it, but maybe once a month. Maybe once a month to treat yourself. I know some people, though, like it, they go back and eat it, and then they crave it, and then they got to eat it all the time. And if that's you, then you just need to get this out of your diet. So you got the deadly plastic wrapper around there, but that food that everyone's eating is toxic. That's a toxic diet. High carbs, high sugar. This is what's killing people. And it's the real epidemic. It's the real pandemic. There really is a pandemic in America. It's been getting worse and worse for all of my lifetime. Too much sugar. Carbs are sugar, and sugar is just in way too much food. And part of the reason they use so much sugar is, one, it's addictive, so it makes you want to buy the product more and more. And another thing is it can be used as a preservative. So it's twofold for why it's in so many products. But this is also why our ancestors, they weren't so fat, because they were getting their food right out of the garden, fresh, no preservatives, no added sugar. Not to mention, sugar is not something that's just everywhere in the world. How many people live in a state that produces any sugar? Almost no one's in any state that produces sugar. Yet it's abundant everywhere. And realize your government has subsidized sugar more than any other product for several decades. And why have they done that? Have they done that in the name of human health? No, they've done that in the name of corporate interests who are interested in addicting consumers to products and also increasing shelf life for products that were meant to be put in a package and sold for a profit on store shelves. It's that simple. Our government does not serve our interests. Our government serves the interests of the powerful entities that rule this nation. All the big industries, big pharma, big agriculture, big media, all the bigs. And in almost all those sects, there's 4 or 5 companies that control everything, and some of them even less. But yeah, you guys want to fix yourself? That's the thing too. I don't think too many people have that much ambition to fix themselves. It's like even one of the gentlemen who's pounded pavement with me a couple times in Spokane. He's overweight, and every time he shows up, he's got a big old soda. He likes Mountain Dew. He's got candy bars, and I'm just like, he's not going to come around anymore, though. Him and I had a falling out. I paid all his bills for him in December, and then he started calling me a shill in January, and I started wondering if maybe the only reason he hung around was just to be another one of these plants to try and act like he was a friend, only to piss me off. But came at me with a sob story in December, so I gave him some money, and the next thing I know, he's calling me a shill. It's just like, wow, this is so weird to pay a guy's bills and help bail him out several times in the month. And he kept asking for more, and I kept saying yes to him to help him out because he has a son, and he came out and pounded payment with me, and now I'm a shill. But now I look back at it all, I'm like, maybe he was just there to make me look bad the whole time. I got this fat slob next to me, pounding Mountain Dew and candy bars. Didn't look like a truth seeker. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, you guys, if this is the way you eat, you should really reconsider. And I know this is how America eats. That's America's meal. The average American eats something like that at least once a day, every day. And that's why they look the way they do. And realize, you guys, I'm not the pinnacle of health right now, because I sit on this chair and I write all day and I decode shit and I write books and present stuff. And if I ever stopped doing this, I'd get in a lot better shape, because I'd get back to being on the grind and working out. That's the one thing that's my biggest mistake in the last 9 years. I've still exercised, but just not the way I used to. I used to be getting a lot of physical activity every day, day in and day out for all of my life up until the time I started. And by the way, when I started doing this, I was injured at first. I busted my shoulder, and then I couldn't play sports, and I couldn't go to the gym like I used to. And it got me reading again and thinking about things, and it got me doing this, so it might have been for the best. But the one place I'm out of balance is I do not get enough exercise like I used to. I still get a lot more than most people, but I do my push-ups and my pull-ups and get a little cardio in, but it's nowhere near what it should be. It's like my old friend told me, Sean, who played linebacker at New Mexico. He was a big, strong guy, and he used to say to me, he's like, don't you want to be even bigger and stronger? Like, I realize this is a black guy too. Black guys, blessed with the genetics so often. But he used to say to me, he's like, don't you want to be even, and I was a lot bigger and stronger back then, but he'd still say to me, he's like, don't you want to be even bigger and stronger in case you really have to protect yourself? And I'd be like, well, Sean, man, not all of us are blessed to be like you, to be built like a linebacker. But, essentially what he's saying is the one thing I wish I was doing more right now is taking even better care of myself in terms of exercise. But I do take care of myself in the way I eat. And the point I'm trying to make is, even if you're not getting enough physical body activity, which is, I understand why a lot of people don't, because they're on the grind, they're working all day. The one way you can fix your body and make yourself look a lot better is by eating right. Like, if you're a man and you're starting to get breasts, you just see it all the time, especially in the summer when guys start wearing t-shirts. Just guys got tits everywhere now, man. It's a titty fest with the guys. And it's not supposed to be that way. And why has that happened in recent time? Why do so many guys got boobs? because of all the estrogen in the food. That's the other big additive. Estrogen will make any man grow boobs. Soy is super high in estrogen. There's soy in everything. A lot of people drink a lot of beer. Beer is high in estrogen. And I think even more so than probably our ancestors' beer. But again, people really need to educate themselves about food and nutrition and realize actually how simple it is. It's not taking miracle pills. I mean, there are products out there that can definitely help you cut weight, but you can do it by just fixing your diet and being disciplined. And again, cut the carbs from your diet. Your body will shrink. You will be blown away. You'll be amazed. Yeah, Sweet Lady, she's been on not really eating any carbs and fasting a lot, and I think she's overdone it. Sweet Lady used to always weigh right around 100 pounds. She got all the way down to 85 pounds, and I said, I think you need to gain some more weight. And her energy's been lower, so, I mean, there is such a thing as overdoing it. But, she was already a tiny thing that didn't seem like there was any weight to lose, but she's an Asian lady, so she likes rice. But lately, she hasn't wanted to be having rice with anything either. And just by taking the rice out of her diet, it essentially made her drop another 15 pounds. That's carbs. Carbs are sugar. Sugar build up excess calories in the body, excess fat. So seriously, if you're out there and you want to lose weight, but you think you can't lose weight, you got to change the things you're eating. If you eat just meat without the bread, if you're a meat person, if you eat the meat without the bread, without the tortillas around it, tortillas are also full of carbs. If you get rid of the fries and the chips and you eat the meat and you have salads with it, vegetables, you'll be amazed at how much weight you'll lose. And do be aware, though, I mean, a lot of you guys like your dairy. I mean, every now and then I'll have some dairy, but dairy is a thing that can really clog your arteries. Dairy's, I think, from what I understand in my research, dairy is the food that more than any other clogs up those arteries. So be real careful with your dairy. And of course, not all things are equal. There's some dairy products that are obviously going to be worse than others. Ice cream, people love ice cream, but I mean, is ice cream something that should even, ice cream can exist because of technology and refrigeration and freezers. It's something that's delicious, but again, ice cream's a big killer, man. Ice cream is not good for you, and people love ice cream. And isn't it funny how Ben & Jerry's is always acting like they're Ben & Jerry's is behind every great cause in the world, Ben & Jerry's, who serves like literally one of the most deadly foods there is. Don't be fooled by your Grateful Dead rockstar ice cream brand. But, yeah, again, you guys, I mean, overcoming your addictions, and realize that's what happened to all of us too, right? From a young age, there's no worse commercials going on in the world at any time than what's going on the children's cartoons. You let your children watch cartoons, what's being marketed to them is nonstop junk food, trash, stuff that's meant to set them up for a life of failure. And you see what it is in the grocery store. I can tell what child was watching their Sunday morning cartoons when I'm in the grocery store on Sunday and I'm seeing a child have a tantrum in the cookie aisle. That's how it works, right? The child saw the Oreo commercial. Child wants a pack of Oreos. Mom or dad's saying no. And, huge fit. They're having that sugar fit. It's like a drug addict not getting their drug. And Sweet Lady and I were just in the grocery store on Sunday, and we saw it. This little girl was screaming at the dad. It looked like it was dad shopping with his daughter. And the girl was screaming because dad put something back on the shelf. And the little girl went back over there and grabbed it, screaming, and she threw it back in the cart. I mean, the girl's probably like 6 years old. And I realized dad didn't take it out. They just went on. And, the daughter started to calm down. She got what she was after. And again, it's tough as a parent, but as a parent, that dad made a big mistake right there. I almost wanted to say something to him, but it's not my place, it's his kid. But I mean, that's bad parenting right there. If you let your kid win the tantrum and throw the cookies in the cart and just go along with it, bad job. That's not what you do as a parent. You say, listen, sweetie, I know those cookies are delicious. We had the cookies last week. Maybe that's what's going on. Dad's like, well, we'll have the cookies so often, not every week. But, sweetheart, we're going to have the cookies once a month. And the reason why is because they're delicious. But you have to understand, there's things in those cookies that aren't the best for our bodies. And credit to this dad. He wasn't the big obese blimp in the, but I mean, you got to explain things to children, and then they can come to understand. If you explain to little, your little sweetheart, listen, if we eat those cookies every week, we might not live that long. We might not get to live as long as grandma did. These cookies, I mean, they're good, but not good for you. And, I mean, and that's what you guys need to tell yourself too, yeah, as adults. All right, I love the man. I got it. You don't think I get cravings for things? I mean, of course I do. And it's like I love popcorn. I haven't had any popcorn for like a year and a half because Sweet Lady. You know what ruined popcorn for me was Sweet Lady. She gets so mad when I eat popcorn. Popcorn's so bad. Popcorn's, oh my god, that food's so bad for. And there's worse foods for you than popcorn. But yeah, popcorn is just more carbs. It's not really, it's not really doing anything positive for you. But I love popcorn, honestly, and I think about popcorn all the time, and I never have any. But again, it's that willpower. It's like, do you want to be healthy? Do you want to take care of yourself? Do you want to prevent or at least try to diminish the odds of dying from a disease and illness that can be very painful and very expensive? Look at how many people in our world die from these illnesses that are so expensive, that are so painful. I've only had 2 relatives I have a big family. I've been lucky. In all the family I'm related to by blood, there's been 3 people who've died. My mom's dad, who was an older man, he lived to be in his 80s, and he died. And her sibling has died, and her husband. And the reason out of all of her family, her big old family, and even on my dad's side, actually I take it back, there's 4 people in my family. My dad's mom died, and she didn't take care of herself either, and she lived to be in her 80s anyway. Must have had good genes the way she took care of herself to live into her 80s. But the reason that my mom's sibling who died, it was this. It was not taking care of themselves. They were all about partying. They were all about drinking. They were all about smoking all the time. And it's that same uncle that I told you about who told me when I was a boy, Zach, don't worry about what they say is going to kill you because everything will kill you in this world. Just do what makes you happy. And you know what? I think the thing is they did have a lot of, well, if my mom's listening, she knows more than I do, but my Uncle John who died, I think he mostly lived a happy life. That said, before he died, he had a massive heart attack, and I want to say he lived for like 10 more years after that, but he died right before he turned 60. He lived to age 59. He died just shy of his 60th birthday. His wife died about a decade later at almost the exact same time. And but the thing is, they lived the hardest. Cigarette after cigarette, beer after beer, bag of chips after bag of chips. Not worried about what was healthy, But I was going to say, after my uncle had that heart attack, he wasn't the same person. He seemed like a ghost of himself. And I think he did kind of have to watch his diet a lot more the last 10 years of his life. But I wasn't around him that much in that period of his life. It's just when I was around him, he wasn't himself. He wasn't the same man that I grew up with. And again, you don't want that to happen to you either. You don't want to have a massive heart attack in your late 40s and then live in pain for the next 10 years before you kick the bucket early because you saturated yourself in too many beers and too many cigarettes. Now, I will tell you, my grandma lived to be 83 and smoked cigarette after cigarette, but I think the one thing she did right is she didn't buy like the Marlboros or the Winstons or whatever they're selling in the store. She always rolled her own cigarettes. And what I read a long time ago in a health book is that, smoking's actually not so bad for you. It's the additives that they put in the products that are the real killers. In that book that I read years ago, it didn't advise smoking, but it said if you're going to smoke, roll your own because it's a lot healthier. And again, for people who don't know, you can buy like a big can of tobacco and your rolling papers. It's probably better just to avoid all that, but if you're going to smoke, it's I'd say based on my grandma's example, who literally smoked cigarette after cigarette for her whole life and lived to be in her mid-80s, it's probably a better way to go as compared to my uncle who didn't even make it to 60. So, again, you guys, when these reports come out, this isn't some breakthrough or something new discovery. These are just, things really you should be thinking about. What do you think's on that waxy paper that doesn't allow oil to go anywhere? What kind of chemicals are on there that make that even possible? That's not natural. And you got to imagine your food's rubbing against it, so there's probably some trace element of that getting on there, and then you're eating that. And the thing about us is, you guys, a human being is like the most amazing machine there ever was, right? When you think about it, when you think about what we are, like almost everything that goes on with the body, it's not us choosing it. We're not choosing to breathe. We're not choosing to make our blood circulate. If we get a cut, we're not choosing like, okay, I want that to heal now. It's just doing it. Our body is this living thing that's doing its thing. What we get to choose is like, what we put in our mouth. And those choices are what ultimately determine how well everything else works. We get to play that part in the system. And again, if you want to be healthy, if you want to be, less likely to die from disease and illness like almost all of our ancestors are, then you really should start thinking about these things now and not later, because every day you wait's too far down the road. And ultimately, I think that the time to start making these changes is, at the youngest of ages possible. My friends, all my friends who made fun of the way I started eating when we were teenagers, all of them, almost all of, I shouldn't say all of them, there are a couple that still got their hair, but by the time we were all around 30, they were almost all of them were starting to bald. I don't have any balding problem. I don't imagine I'm going to have any balding problem anytime soon. I know some of that stuff's genetic, but no doubt the foods we're eating also accelerate some of these things. And the one thing the biggest health mistake that I think I've probably made today is just like in my early 20s, just partying too much, drinking too much. Alcohol, that ultimately over a lifetime, alcohol can be the most deadly thing because it really does pickle all your organs. But, by my mid-20s, I realized, like, I don't think I should be drinking this much. And some people are a lot worse than I ever was, but I wish I could go back and not gotten blackout drunk as I did so much in my early 20s, because I'm sure, that was probably taking days and maybe years off your life. It's just, you're traumatizing your body. You're putting your body through a lot of stress. I mean, all of you know how it is, unless you haven't drank or been hungover yet. But, I mean, being hungover sucks, right? You wake up that next day and you're just like, oh, my God, what did I do to myself? God, I mean, I wish I was dead right now. I mean, alcohol. So... And all this stuff about alcohol, like riboflavonoids and red wine and being good for your heart, I'm not sure that any of that ultimately is true either. I mean, all things in moderation, a little bit here and there, but ultimately most people are just abusing their bodies, abusing the most amazing machine there ever was. And if it wasn't such an amazing machine, we'd probably have all killed over a long time ago. But, I mean, if you don't take care of your body, you are destroying the machine that is your body, and... you don't take care of it, it's gonna burn up a lot faster than it should have. Something I like about living where I do right now in this community with elderly, like the average person that lives in my neighborhood is like 80 years old. There's some people you never see, but then there are people in the community who are inspiring. Like there's a guy, his name's Frank. He was in his mid 80s in 2008. He's getting close to 90, this guy. But he's out there every day on his walk. He looks good. He's got his shirt tucked in. He's dressed in his nice polo shirt. If he's not walking outside, and he always dresses nice. You can tell he cares about his appearance. But he's always dressed nice. He's perfectly fit, no gut. And he's a cool guy. He's sharp. He's fun to talk to. And when I first moved into here, when I first moved into this neighborhood, we're the only people that live in this neighborhood that aren't retired. And the reason we live here is because it's right next to Sweet Lady's school, and we wanted to live here next to the school. Just made things easy. But, and it's also a gated neighborhood, which seemed like something that was a plus for us after everything we went through at the last house with the burglaries and the sabotage and the car through the house. I mean, gated community didn't seem like the worst place to be in light of all the threats we get and everything. But when I first moved here, it was probably the first or second time I ever talked to him. But he told me that he really liked to play ping pong. And he told me that he used to be in I forget if it was the Air Force or whatever, but he won the military ping pong tournament in Germany. And, he's drafted. He's back in the draft. He's an older guy. But he's from the draft days. So he's telling me how good he is at ping pong. And I said, oh, man. I said, when I was a kid, we used to have a ping pong table. And I said, I used to be pretty good at ping pong. And he's like, oh, let's play. So we played ping pong there, just in there's a community building. It's real small. Doesn't really have anything besides the ping pong table. A few chairs, a TV on the wall. But he wanted to play ping pong. So we played ping pong, and at first I'm thinking the guy's in his mid-80s. I'm going to go easy on, but I could tell he could play, so I was playing back and forth, and then I beat him in the opening round, right? So he got annoyed. This guy. And he goes, hold on. He goes, I'm going to go back to my house and get my actual paddle. And I was like, wow, competitive guy. Well, you guys, I beat him in the round of ping pong. And I was impressed, man, because I was like, man, an older guy. I mean, he's holding his own here on the ping pong court. And I'm not bad at ping pong. Like, I'd probably beat you. But anyway, I hadn't played for a long time when I played it. But anyway, he comes back with his own paddle. Man, this guy almost skunked me. He was like a whole new man with his own paddle. Nasty spin on it. But it gave me a laugh. And the thing is, this guy doesn't seem like he's aged a day since I met him in summer 2018. He's out there every day, getting his walks in, dressed nice always. And again, he's just a reminder of what life can be. Like, I used to think when I was a child that I didn't even want to live to be 40. I'm almost 40 right now, and now that I'm almost 40, I realize as someone who's almost 40, I don't really actually feel that much different than when I was a child. I still have good energy. I'm still able and capable. I could still go run around and play on a sports field. I've taken care of myself. And, I look at Frank now, and I'm like, man, if I continue to take care of myself, I can be like Frank when I'm in my mid-80s. I'm still able. I'm still capable. I can look good, and, there's not a lot of Franks left in the world. And at the rate things are going now, it's like most people, they're going to be lucky to live to be 40. I mean, most of these kids I see out there, they're going to be suffering from diabetes from a young age, all sorts of problems. Cholesterol levels, heart complications. And it's because of this. It's because we've been put in this toxic world full of chemicals, probably jabbed with things we didn't need from the time we were babies, and all along the way, the government's been telling us it's necessary and safe when they know it's not. So, closing words. When you go to the grocery store, do the majority of your shopping in the produce section. If you do that, guess what you're staying away from if you're getting things in the produce section. And if you're going, well, when I get things in the produce section, they go bad so fast and they don't last, maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe that means, most people live near a grocery store that's not too far away. I'd say the average American probably doesn't have to go more than 3 miles to get to the grocery store, and it's probably not even a mile for a lot of people. There's grocery stores everywhere. People who live out in rural areas, well, if you're that person, and I'd say just start growing your food on your own property if you're that person. But really, buy stuff in the produce section. If you want to get real regimented, make a menu for the week and have your meals planned, and you know how long the food expires. Learn how to make your food last longer. Avocados, very nutritious. A lot of people's frustration with the avocado is it goes from hard to ripe to all brown and hard inside really fast. If you don't know the trick to make your avocado last a lot longer, right at the first sign that it starts to feel the tiniest bit soft. It just softens up a little bit. What I always do with my avocados is put them in a bowl of water, because now they suck up that water and they won't turn brown. Well, they will after a long time, but I mean, you can keep them in that bowl of water and they won't turn brown for weeks. They will stay green and like new inside because they have that water that's feeding them. But also put it in your fridge. Put it in the fridge and put it in a bowl of water. If avocados go way on sale and you can and stock up, I mean, just do that. Buy a bunch of avocados, put them in a big bowl of water, keep them in the fridge. But let them get to that first phase where they feel a little bit soft, and then put them in there, and then they'll pretty much stay in that perfect state. But yeah, if you start eating fruits and vegetables, you'll learn how to take care of them. You'll know exactly how long they last. You'll get familiar with them. And, we live in this age where recipes are everywhere. You feel like, I'm tired of eating this. What else can I do with this? Type in recipes for this ingredient. And, instead of eating pasta and rice, things that aren't necessarily... Well, wild rice isn't so bad for you, but there's foods like quinoa. I know a lot of you guys like to eat meat. Sweet lady started eating meat again. She thinks she does better her gums and teeth when she's eating meat. And again, that's the blood type diet. I think it's entirely possible that different people based on their blood type need different foods. But, if you're getting a free-range organic meat, which can be expensive, that's obviously a lot better for you than the processed stuff that's all full of antibiotics and stuff that was meant to make the animal get huge real fast for the sake of profit. But again, even if you're eating things that aren't the best for you, and you're so addicted to those things and you can't get them out of your diet, try to eliminate some of the things. Like I said with this sandwich, if you really need that fried piece of chicken or whatever that is that's in there between the bun, get rid of the bun part. The bun part is actually the part of that sandwich that's the very worst for you. The least nutritious part of this meal, the biggest health problem in that meal that's in that picture, is that bun. Get rid of that. Stop eating that. Try to get rid of all bread, even whole wheat bread, which is a lot better than white bread. I've ultimately learned that bread, essentially all it does is break down into your body into more sugar. And again, we're already oversaturated in sugar. So anyway, reduce the carbs, more green vegetables. Vegetables are a lot better for you than fruit for the most part because fruit still have a lot of sugar in them. They do break down more into carbs. Most vegetables, very low in sugar. A lot have no sugar. And ultimately, sugar is a big problem for human health. And almost all of us are getting way too much sugar, especially if you're eating processed foods because they're just full of it. And they also have too much salt in them and not good kinds of salt. And yeah, research all sorts of things. Research different types of salt. The last time I did a food video, somebody said, get pink Himalayan salt. We actually have some of that. Yeah. Pink Himalayan salt is supposed to be have a lot better nutrient base in it than your standard, white Morton sea salt. So, again, make food your medicine. Spend time, and that's the thing too. I mean, most people in this world, they haven't spent any time acquiring any real knowledge about anything other than the knowledge they think they have from slave school. Most people are spending all their time on entertainment. Outside of their job, they're doing school and work, but then outside of that, it's entertainment and consumerism. And it's almost nothing else in America. It's all about pleasing and pleasuring yourself, and that's why people are eating things that taste good but maybe aren't good for them. Nobody's thinking about knowledge, knowing more about, whatever it is to know more about. And I would encourage everyone to do more research on food. There's an abundance of information out there. There's a lot of conflicting information, and that's where you got to use your own discernment and your own experimentation. Different people see different results from different things, but ultimately, I know if I have 100 fat people here and I take away all the carbs and sugar for them, I know in record time, in 2 weeks, they're all going to be looking a lot slimmer. In a month, if we keep them on it, they're going to be way, way slimmer. And, there's going to be people who report that they lost 30, 40 pounds in a month just from taking all the sugar and crap out of their diet. And they continue on that path. They add some exercise to it. Man, they just went from way overweight to that. Now they got new problems. They got excess skin. And you know what? I mean, that's too bad, but you can get surgery for that, remove the excess skin. And there's some people, I've actually met people who say that they don't want to lose weight because then they get this excess saggy skin. That excess saggy skin, I mean, yeah, I understand that's not attractive and not nice, but you know what's even worse for you? Being way fat and overweight and bringing yourself closer to death faster. I mean, have the excess skin problem and then go get some surgery. That can't be the most expensive surgery. But yeah, and people just make all these crazy excuses. And, again, find that willpower. Overcome addiction. So, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. Oh, hold on. Somebody gave a super chat. $2 richer. Hold on. Let me say thank you to the super chatter here. $2, man. $2 buys me an organic cucumber. Something I love to eat. So, next organic cucumber is thanks to Hess85. Thank you, Hess85. You paid for my next organic cucumber. So anyway, try to reduce eating packaged foods. You shop in the produce section. Again, you don't need stuff that's really in packaging. Granted, they do have the little pull-away plastic bag that you can put your stuff in, but really, you don't even have to do that. You don't even have to do that. I mean, you don't even have to put it in a bag. You can just pay for it all and just keep it in your little plastic cart. Maybe you got one of those reusable bags. You just put all your produce stuff in there and then just take it home and wash it off. Put it in a big bowl. Put in a couple drops of a food cleaner. Make sure if you buy one of these food cleaners, you read the ingredients. If it starts having complicated chemicals on there, which some of them have, don't buy that. Because, I mean, I'm not even convinced that that's doing anything positive for your food. You could be actually adding more chemicals to your food. And it's crazy how there's products like that out there. They obviously don't care about the consumer. They're just trying to make a buck. But yeah, wash your fruits and vegetables because there is a lot of toxins on them, pesticides, and even on the organic food, you guys. Some of you who are buying organic food and think you don't need to wash it off, that's wrong. Again, talk to people who work on organic farms. Even them at the end and the whole storage process and putting it on the trucks, they still, a lot of them, they have to end up putting the chemicals on there. It's like, it's required by the government. So even in the organic food section, you still got to wash it off. You know, it's probably not nearly as bad as the GMO section, but still, you still got to wash it off if, you know, you want to put yourself in the best shape possible. So what RB said, you know, you just use lemon with boiling water. Well, I don't know if you want to boil necessarily your fresh vegetables, but like this ingredient right here, one of the main cleaners in here is citrus and lemon oil. So, or extract, excuse me. But yeah, citrus is a natural cleaner. So, but the thing is what you just said, this product right here is highly concentrated as is. It's probably actually more cost effective than buying a ton of lemons and water. I mean, that's the thing about buying some of these products. You might actually end up saving yourself money. It might be the smarter purchase. Lemons aren't necessarily cheap. And this does have a few other, you know, things that aren't bad for the cleaning process besides just the lemon. So again, that bottle right there will last me a year of washing fruits and vegetables, or almost a year, if not a year, like 8 or 9 months. I mean, it lasts a long time. It's $10, and the way I look at it is, you know, it's $10 to keep a bunch of harmful chemicals out of your body that could take years off your life, that might end you up in the hospital in due time, where you got way bigger bills than $10. As they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, and yeah, what Denise just said in the chat, read labels and do not eat processed foods. Again, if on the food label, if there's ingredients that sound like some big chemical thing that you don't even know what that is, do you want to put that in your body? Do you want to put something in your body that you don't know what it is? Well, the government must have thought it was safe enough to be here. Remember, your government about 20 years ago was passing laws so that there were certain ingredients that they didn't even have to put on the label anymore. And again, you got to wonder what that was about. Ingredients they didn't even want people to look into. So. Everyone's got their own tips. Somebody says remove the apple skins. I've heard that before, but I've also heard that apple skins have the most fiber and nutrients in them. Personally, I like apple skins. You know, most things I like the skin on it. So, yeah, stainless steel pots and pans do not leach into your food. But the thing is, you have to cook. I mean, if you're boiling water and boiling stuff in it, it's not a big deal because your food's not really going to stick. But if you're cooking, you know, frying on a stainless steel pan, you have to learn to cook on a lower temperature. Otherwise, your food's all going to stick. So it can take a little bit longer to cook, but you're doing it in the sake of your own interest, your own health. Yeah, but again, you talk to a million different people, you're going to get a million different thoughts on food. But again, there are some things that you'll find that are uniform. Again, I guarantee you, if you're overweight and you want to lose weight, I guarantee you, if you cut the carbs out of your diet, if you stop eating bread, if you stop eating sugary drinks, if you stop putting sugar in your food, I guarantee you will watch a lot of pounds shed off your body. And granted, you know, if you're used to drinking sugary drinks, you're probably going to have severe migraines if you stop drinking them. So you're going to have to wean yourself off. And again, when your body has withdrawals like that and massive migraines, that should tell you something right there about the products you've been putting in there. You know, it reminds you that your body is adaptive, but you know, that means it's something that's pretty severe that you're putting in your body to cause that kind of reaction, because now your body... It's funny how the body is that way, isn't it? That's what's amazing about the human body, how it figures out how to survive. An alcoholic, if he comes off alcohol, he can die if he just comes off cold turkey because his body's so used to running on alcohol. It's like his body was rewired to survive on alcohol. Of course, he's not going to live as long as the guy whose body's, you know, wired to live on nutritious green things. But that can happen to an alcoholic. You know, that they're so addicted to alcohol that they need their alcohol. And if they don't get it, they can literally die. And it's kind of that way for people who are addicted to soda. But again, all these people can wean themselves off, and that's really what they need to do. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Take care of yourself. Try that shopping strategy. Produce section. I mean, you can get all the food you need in the produce section, because usually in a produce section there's also that area where you can get, little bags and fill up the bag with, lentils and, grains. And I'm learning that grains actually aren't that good for you. Yeah, it's just sometimes I always thought oatmeal was a really great health food. A lot of new evidence has come to me that oatmeal is actually terrible for your health, and it makes me sad. It has lectins in it, and the lectins actually eat at your gut lining and cause other health problems. Oatmeal's super high in lectins. So that's something to look into. Lectins are a newer thing for me, but now I felt like I've been doing fine with my oatmeal. But yeah, so maybe even some health foods aren't all we thought they were. Maybe oatmeal is ultimately not the best breakfast ticket. Maybe eggs are truly the best breakfast food. And anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Next live stream I'll do will probably be tomorrow morning on Patreon. So for the person in the thing chat who said don't shower every day, it kills natural oil. I think everybody knows that. I mean, if you don't take a shower for, if I don't take a shower every day, I notice by the second day I have more oil on my skin. My hair is more oily. And yeah, I mean, the shower and all these modern conveniences, they're not part of they're not part of God's earth, they're part of man's earth. I mean, we have become a very cleanly society. Sometimes I wonder if we weren't eating all this toxic food, if we'd get body odor and stuff the way we do. So many people smell terrible if they don't take a shower every day. And sometimes I think that's just a product of the new modern world where we're eating these toxic foods, and maybe what we smell is just like the toxic output from our body. You usually, I don't wear deodorant, if you didn't know that about me. My mom always told me deodorant's a really bad thing that clogs your pores and all sorts of chemicals. And I shouldn't say that I don't wear deodorant. The only time I used to wear deodorant is when I was participating in physical activity, playing sports, because I didn't want somebody else to smell me. That's when I smell bad, is like when I sweat a lot. But normally I don't have a problem from not wearing deodorant. No one's like, oh, Zach smells bad. I mean, if I don't shower for a few days, that's a different story. But yeah, I think deodorant's actually another thing that a lot of people use that's maybe another thing to stop using. Because look into the health concerns of deodorant. Again, you're putting this chemical substance that leaches into your body, and again, all sorts of wacky ingredients in there. There's probably certain brands of deodorant that are better than others. And realize that, too, a lot of just topical solutions, to treat ailments, when really that's not what you need. It's like you need to heal from within. One more thing for the young people. For any of you guys who are young and have acne, see, what was messed up is I just knew it when I was a child. The doctors would always say that acne has nothing to do with your diet, which is an absolute lie. It has 100% everything to do with your diet. And out of my nephews and nieces, the one that's the most pimply is the one that has the biggest sugar habit, and she probably get it from her dad because her dad loves candy bars nonstop. But my niece, she has the most pimples out of my nephews and niece, and she's the one that's always chowing down on sugar and candy bars and suckers. Essentially, what acne is too much sugar in your body. That's pretty much what acne is. And, the people who are consuming the most sugar are usually younger people. They are the ones still eating the most candy bars and whatnot. But too much sugar is the leading cause of acne. And it's sad to think we grow up in a world where people go to school for 8 years to become dermatologists and they don't even know what's causing acne. They just know how to prescribe topical solutions that'll take care of it. But again, it's a reminder that, that's essentially what Western school and medicine is. Just going to school, learning the outside treatments to take care of problems, and not even really knowing what the underlying cause of the problem is, because they're not going to school to study what caused the problem. They're going to school to learn about the drugs to treat those problems that are so common in our society because of all the things they're not learning about. And yeah, I just knew it when I was a kid. I was pretty sure that that's what it was. Junk food and sugar was causing acne. That's exactly what it is. I knew that as a teenager who hadn't been to any medical school. I haven't even finished public school. It just seemed obvious to me. And so if you have a big acne problem, again, some things are hereditary. For some people, it's worse than others. But again, you want to make your acne better? Eat better. Instead of eating all those candy bars, eat some green vegetables. Eat things that pull the toxins out of your body, that make your skin healthier. Read about foods that make your skin healthier, foods that are good for skin, foods rich in vitamin E. So, yeah, acne, that's one of the most annoying things as a teenager. And you know what? I rarely get a pimple now. I mean, I'm almost 40. I'm out of the pimple age. But usually when I get a pimple, it's in my ear. And you know what it is? I usually get like a pimple in my ear. And it's always like, it's usually around the holiday time. And it's because my mom sent me a big box of chocolates. And the neighbor came over with like a cheesecake for me. And I don't like to waste food. Even though I don't want to eat these foods, I will eat something that I don't want to eat because I don't want to throw it in the garbage can. I feel like it's a sin to throw food in the garbage can, and maybe that's something I need to work on. Maybe some things I just need to throw in the garbage can. But when I get a pimple, it's when I eat like a piece of cheesecake, and then I also eat a couple of the chocolate truffles my mom sent me. I mean, it's good. It's like you eat one, you're like, oh my God, I got to eat another one. But that's why I don't buy those things either. I don't even want them in my house. Because then when they are around, I want to eat them, and I know they're not good for me, but I notice almost any time I get like a pimple, which is rare now that I'm older, it's almost always in my ear, and it's almost always right after I eat sugar, So, you guys ever have one of those ear pimples? They're the most annoying because they're like painful because there's like not a lot of skin there, and it's like pushing on your skin, and it's just annoying, but anyway. Well, however old I look, I'm definitely getting older. I mean, even though I've taken care of myself and I probably do look younger for my age, I'm getting older, man. I mean, the camera's small right now. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but I'm telling you, if you guys see me in person, you'll see. The grays are finally coming in. I got more gray hairs on the chin. I swear to God, the first time I had a gray hair on my chin was my 35th birthday. I couldn't believe it. I thought, man, this age thing is real. It's my 35th birthday. I got a couple gray hairs on my chin today. Now I got some gray hairs coming through up here on my mustache. It's like right here. First one's above there. And now my sideburns are getting gray. I'm pretty sure by 40, I'm going to start having more gray hairs up here. So anyway, you can take care of yourself. You can reduce your aging process, but it's going to happen to you. You're going to get older. You take care of yourself, though, you're going to age more gracefully. But even I, who take care of myself, the gray hairs are coming in. And it just reminds you we're slowly dying. But men get better looking with age. I think it just depends. It just depends. It depends. I think whoever left that comment, I think part of the reason, if between men and women, one of us tends to do better as we get older, it might be men. But that might also be because of like women, they got to go through birth and their bodies change and it's a lot of stress on the body. And I mean, that's why you got to appreciate women. And, I'm a hypocrite because I'm so mean to my mom. If you guys would understand why, because my mom will just drive anybody insane. But I always feel guilty about how mean I am to my mom. And I mean, really, when she gets mad, she says, I brought you into this world. You should be more respectful. And it's like, well, I want to be, but it's hard to when you just call up talking all this shit for no reason. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I mean, really, we should appreciate women because they really do have to go through a lot, And it's not even just, I've always been grateful I'm not a woman because I just feel so bad for the time of the month thing and, having to go through the period. To me, that would just be a nightmare to have to deal with that every month. And without women, well, I guess you could say without men too, but I mean, women really bear the task of bringing people into this world, and it's a big task. And if there's a reason that men do better as they get older, that would be my guess as to why. I was telling about Frank earlier. Sometimes when I talk to Frank, he complains because he's very thin, but his wife's quite heavy. And sometimes he's talking to me. He's like, I wish I could get my wife to take better care of herself, But they're both, they're both alive and kicking, and I do think maybe, based on what my mom tells me, my mom says she never had a problem being skinny before she had me, but, my mom's an excuse maker too. Sorry if you're out there, Mom, you're an excuse maker. My mom's not honest about her diet. She lies about all the stuff that she snacks on when nobody's looking. She loves chips. She loves candies, she loves milkshakes, and she'll eat this shit all day while nobody's around and then say that she didn't have anything. She'll say, oh, all I had today was split pea soup. And then you check the garbage can, you're like, well, the garbage can says that somebody ate a bag of chips and here's a ice cream bar wrapper. Well, that was hours ago. Oh, okay. Okay, Mom. So anyway. Yeah, my mom, she's a real character. But anyway, take care of yourself, you guys. Don't make excuses. Be honest about what you're putting in your mouth. And just walking around. That's another really simple exercise that's really good for you. You walk a mile a day. That you can walk a mile in 20 minutes. You make 20 minutes out of your day to walk a mile. That does wonders for your health too. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Until next time.